And here we go. Hi there. Welcome, everybody, to Cast Iron Wednesday. This, of course, is a tradition that a number of these YouTube cooking channels have been doing for the past few years now. And that, of course, includes this one. And thank you very much to everybody for showing up. Where on Wednesdays, of course, we do a cast iron video. This really only seems to be happening with the smaller YouTube channels. I haven't seen the larger channels pick it up yet. I hope it certainly happens sometime soon. But it's really a great excuse to talk about cast iron and to use cast iron and to have fun with cast iron. And so I can only once again thank everybody who's been kind enough to show up here once again this week. I mean, we've been doing this now for about 3.5 years, and so there are a number of people who, again, who've been kind enough to show up here each week. And so I can only thank everybody who's been kind enough to show here. Rich Qualls, who says, watching from Antarctica. Well, that's very impressive, unless you just mean it's as cold as Antarctica where you are right now. And hello, JIR Finishes. And hello, Jimmy Langford. Buzz Fork 8, 4Jim44, Pat Z, Clico, Mercy B. Hello. And hello again to everybody. Um, and hello again to our first of the month, first Wednesday of the month, which means it's time once again for pretty much a Q&A, AMA, BS session, which, that means pretty much, question and answer, ask me anything almost, and BS. So, yes, well, again, that's what we're here for, really, to have a discussion tonight. I put a theme on the title of this video just to give people, kind of like a subject to gravitate around, especially since it's a popular subject as far as cast iron is concerned. That is modern day cast iron, of which I'm fortunate enough to have several samples of this in my collection as well. But of course, as always, pretty much any subject related to cast iron is open. In that, while I would like to hear some questions about modern day cast iron, but there's no reason why we can't talk about all the usual subjects. And, that would be Griswold and BSR and seasoning and all of those fun subjects there. And hello as well to Cast Iron Fanatic and Mark Sieber and Celine 77 Star 99, Mercy B. The reason why I put the title or rather I wanted to say something about modern day cast iron was because of another guy who's been showing up quite regularly, and it's been nice of him to do that. Huey, that is. He's actually running his own little cast iron restoration and selling business, and he actually posted a video just the other day. I'm not sure if he posted it on YouTube, but he definitely posted it on TikTok, where he took one of his brand new modern day cast iron pans. I think it was a Smithy in fact. The seasoning had been coming off of that, so he took the time to give that Smithy cast iron pan several brand new coats of seasoning. He stripped it down and did everything he could with it. And then he cooked with it once. And it seems like the seasoning just came right off the surface of that Smithy cast iron skillet. So he's a little perturbed about that. And I can't say I blame him. So I did actually have to comment about that because, I've had that happen to my cast iron pans too. It took, I do have several pans, modern day cast iron pans, such as one of the first ones I was lucky enough to acquire as a Christmas present was, of course, the Finex number 12 cast iron skillet. And while it's got a decent coloring on the surface now, it really took me several years of use to get any kind of decent seasoning on this pan because yes, the surface, which indeed was glass smooth, really had a lot of trouble getting seasoning to stick. But I mean, I really enjoy using this pan, and that's why I was more than happy to keep doing this again and again until we finally got some seasoning to hold on to this pan and give it a decent color. And I just realized I put it on backwards. And that's only one example. Another example that I've mentioned more than once is the Stargazer skillet, which I've had. This was, what does it say here? This actually has a date on it. 2019. Okay, so I've had this. Wow, this is going to be going on 5 years. God, it sure doesn't feel like it. I've been using this Stargazer skillet for almost 5 years, and well, once again, I finally managed to get a decent coating of seasoning on this. But again, it took at least a couple of years of good use before I was able to do it. Um, it took a while again because yes, it was so smooth that the seasoning was just coming right off at first. So, and that seems to be happening with a fair number of the new modern day cast iron pans. And hello, as well. Yeah, I just love that Hart Dutch oven. Well, thank you very much. I think smooth cast iron is way better than rough iron, and I will die on this hill, says Deepel Pal. And William Hurd, seasoning still needs enough texture to grab. Of course, you don't have to go as rough as Lodge to do it. And have you noticed the Smithy cast iron commercials on TV, mostly on the Food Network? Well, no, I didn't know that, Jimmy Langford, but well, that's largely because I actually canceled cable. Oh man, more than 12 years ago. So unfortunately, I've not been able to watch the Food Network regularly. I watch Food Network bits on YouTube, but I don't have to put up with commercials there. So I did miss that. One Pan Man. I have a modern Lodge that I've used for over a year, and everything sticks to it still. I'm leaning towards using the sander on it to give it a smoother cooking surface. Well, there's the pro and con of having a pan with a nice glass smooth surface, because I would actually disagree with that, and I would encourage you to keep using that Lodge cast iron pan at the way it is, because let me show you here what I call my redneck pan, which is the first Lodge pan that yeah, really the first cast iron pan that I ever owned. And I've had this now, well, I've been using it anyway since 2010. And once again, I've managed to build up a nice coating of seasoning on the front, so that on the bottom, so that it really does feel nice and smooth because of all the seasoning built up on it. I did not sand this down. And yet, on the other hand, let me see, compared to that, I've got a relatively new, a couple of new cast iron pans. What's the latest one I might have? Well, here's the one from 2022, that is. This is the Walking Liberty skillet. The Walking Liberty Lodge cast iron skillet from 2022. So this is only about 2 years old, and I did in fact re-season this one as well, and so it does. And yet, even so, even though the surface is still kind of a little bit rough, I can again say that I've been able to cook with this without real any difficulty. So, if you're having trouble with your food sticking with a large cast iron pan, I might actually suggest turn down the heat on your stove top a little bit, because that can often be the reason why we get sticking on cast iron. I mean, yes, it is true that smooth cast iron, I will have to say that smooth cast iron does does make the food go a little better than rough, but it's actually not that much of a difference. Fuzzy has a question. With the Lodge logo series with Wildlife Spring, Camping, Yellowstone skillets, which ones do you think will really hold its price? Oh, you're talking about collector value. Um, that's really hard to say, because, of course, who can really predict what's going to become a collector's item or not? I mean, I can think of, for instance, in 2016, there was this huge wildfire all around the Tennessee area that devastated many homes, and a lot of people, that caused a lot of damage. A lot of people lost their homes, and they had to do some a lot of real fundraising to help support the people in that area. That year in 2016, Lodge donated all the revenue or income or whatever it is from its Great Smoky Mountain skillet, which they've been making every year for quite a while now. The 2016 Great Smoky Mountain skillet, they donated the entire income from that particular skillet to that charity, and as a result, they made $100,000 contribution to the support fund for that because of that. And also because of that, the 2016 Great Smoky Mountain skillet does actually have collector's item because there's really some history behind it. So I would um, I am not an expert really with the collector's market. I would really not be able to say what's going to have value and what isn't. But I would think that items that are popular are probably more likely to get some collector's value. So those Yellowstone skillets, maybe. I mean, Yellowstone is a popular TV series. I've never seen it, but if you've got a Yellowstone skillet, well, it's possible that it may indeed pick up some value after it's been discontinued. I mean, it's less likely a line is going to become a collector's item while it's still being produced. The Lodge Wildlife series, for instance, the first wildlife series that they did, the ones that don't have the Lodge logo on them. They produced those in the early 90s. And they only produced them for, I don't know what, a few years, several years or so. And of course, it wasn't until after they discontinued that line that those wildlife pans became collector's items, and they have since shot up in value. So I mean, I guess we could get into the speculator market in that case. I mean, anybody who collects comic books knows what the speculator market was like. And it is true that Lodge is indeed catering to the collector's market. So it's hard to say if any of those Lodge pans that they're producing now are really going to become special collector's items. Some might. I might probably suggest that the Yellowstone skillet might. The wildlife series, I'm not sure. I really don't think I could give a really good answer to that. If I looked at my collection and wondered which of these might become a collector's item, I would probably guess, and I've said this before, the Made in America series, specifically the ones from 2020 and 2018. And there are two reasons for that. One is that patriotic cast iron is always popular. I mean, you know, anybody who knows this knows the type of people who cook in cast iron regularly know that people will go bonkers pretty much for anything that says America and USA, USA, and all that. So that's why when Lodge did a Made in America skillet, which proudly said Made in America, and actually had the year on it. So that, and especially since this was the first one of that series, I might suggest that this may very well become a collector's item, especially since Lodge is now producing a Made in America pan that doesn't have a year on it. So it's certainly possible. On the other hand, the 2020 one has a different reason, and I did a whole video about the 2020 um, Rosie the Riveter skillet, and I am of the opinion that special value is on that Rosie skillet, especially because it happened to come out the year of the pandemic. And I am not going to get into politics over that. However, it was a very fortunate coincidence for Lodge that they happened to produce the Rosie the Riveter skillet the year that happened. And so Rosie became something of a symbol for really, our struggle against the pandemic. So there again is another possibility as to why this might become a collector's item. Some of these other pans, I'm really not so sure if they're really going to get some great value on them. I mean, the Grinch cast iron skillet looks nice. I don't know if it's going to acquire any real value. The new pan that they did, naked and covered in oil, to be honest, I doubt that's ever going to become a collector's item. But who knows? Anyone remember the Le Creuset Star Wars Dutch ovens that they came out with a few years ago? Yeah, oh yeah, those things have definitely shot up in price. Not just, of course, because Le Creuset is incredibly expensive in the first place, but the most famous example of that, and no, I don't have it. No way could I afford it then, is the Le Creuset Dutch oven that has the image of Han Solo frozen in carbonite. Anybody who is look it up. In fact, I don't have it with me, but look it up. Le Creuset Han Solo, and you will see images of that. When that thing first came out, when Le Creuset did that Star Wars series, the Le Creuset had a value. I mean, they sold it at a price of about $400. You know, typical for Le Creuset. Now you look on eBay for the Han Solo Dutch oven, you could easily see it selling for $2,000. Of course, eBay prices are ridiculous anyways. So, but it's really, really hard to say. So, Kimberly Miller, the pans that are hanging from the shelf. What is the pan in the middle? Looks to be maybe number 7 with the heat ring. Which one are you referring to? The one in the middle? Would it be this one or that one over there? I'm honestly not sure which one you are referring to. I have a Coleman 413 set up on the deck. Oh, nice. Naked and covered in oil. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, there's no reason why. That's a nice novelty skillet. Yes, and I agree. It's funny, and I'm sure that's precisely why Lodge did that series. They have a whole series of things with that phrase, naked and covered in oil. All kinds of kitchen items, including that cast iron skillet. But I don't think that's going to be the type of thing that is going to go like gangbusters on eBay or anything else. So it's amusing, but yeah, they sold for $700 plus. Oh yeah, that's what you're talking about, the Star Wars pans as well, Louis J. Yeah, my wife tried buying the Tatooine Dutch oven. Down from the pan you just touched, it's hanging on the shelf, the middle one. Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to ask somebody to guide me to that. If you're meaning this one, this is actually a number 8. This is also a Lodge pan, and this, in fact, is a very special pan. This is my J.R. Bob Dobbs pan, which means, yeah, this is the one with the image of the whole of the founder of the Church of the Subgenius. I've talked about the Church of the Subgenius several times, and let's just say that I am quite pleased to own this particular pan because I have a story, which may or may not be true, of the origin of this pan that involved a freak meteor accident. But I'm not going to go into that right now. Okay. Instead, let me see. There are 5 pans hanging from the middle down where that was uh, with with where that pan was. Okay. Um, okay. How do you get a pan like that from Lodge? Which one? Oh, you're talking about the Bob Dobbs pan. Well, as I said, I already have a story about the origin of that pan, but I will also say that there is a company on Etsy as well that does a phenomenal job making their own making customized engraved cast iron pans. So if you look on eBay, not eBay, Etsy, you will definitely be able to see that. Terry Sinchev, my grandma worked in a shipyard during the war, so I'm looking for a Rosie the Riveter pan. Well, Lodge did actually re-release the Rosie the Riveter pan only about maybe 2 years ago, and they may still have it available, in fact. Look online, look on their website. I'm not sure if they discontinued the Rosie the Riveter pan. I mean, it's a Rosie the Riveter pan complete with her logo. We can do it. In fact, I got that pan as well and gave it as a Christmas present for a friend a couple of years ago. And I'm actually quite happy about that. Does CIC like Art Bell? To be honest, I never did, no. But yeah, and I know who Art Bell was, yes. I've seen them on Etsy. Maybe I'll pick a custom pattern. And went right by the building where Rosie the Riveter worked. Well, that's interesting. I honestly didn't know that there was a real Rosie. I honestly thought she was like a cartoon character, so to speak. But nonetheless, yes, I can barbecue. Well, yeah. I mean, I will admit, as I said, I did start my YouTube channel to show off my cast iron collection. I'm not going to deny that. However, I also started this YouTube channel so that I could use my cast iron collection. I do my best to try to rotate through my collection as best I can and try to use as many of these pans as I can, again, without, so that just that, so that they are all regularly used. And it's because of that that I've been able to get a decent amount of seasoning on these new pans, like the Finex and the Stargazer skillet. For instance, one that I still need to work on improving the seasoning with, I received as a gift from someone on this channel only last year, and that is the Field Company #8 cast iron skillet, where this one has some nice seasoning already, largely because I've been doing my best to use it more than anything else. I realize it's going to take quite a bit of use yet before I can really say this thing is truly seasoned. So, but I like to think it's not doing too badly here. And again, that is just another one of the modern day cast iron makers that they're making. Buzz Fork 8 Lodge is coming out with the Layman Kid Iron Ohio skillet. Layman is I missed that. Let me scroll back there. Layman is a hardware company that caters to the Amish, and since I live here, it looks collectible. Isn't there a I think I know what you mean. And isn't there an actual store called Layman's in the Ohio area? I used to see some items with the Layman's logo, and I think that included a couple of cast iron pieces, but I never did get any. I never unfortunately, really don't have enough. Oh yeah, Layman's is such a cool store. Yeah, exactly. I believe Louis J. I believe all those skillets are already available and have been for some time. Oh well, that's also good news. So yeah, there you go, Patty Smith. Rosie the Riveter is $36 on Amazon. Yes, see, they're still selling Rosie the Riveter. Go onto Amazon, like she said, and if you do, you'll be able to get one because, well, maybe Rosie will become a collector's item. Yes. Um, However, collector's items, it's impossible to say when any particular item is going to become one of those incredibly valuable pieces. The kind like the eerie spider skillet, which is like the holy grail of cast iron collecting. Those, of course, are not only unique, but they're also extremely rare, which is another reason why they are so incredibly expensive. And it's hard to say if any modern day cast iron pan will ever have that kind of value, but who knows? Let me think of another example. Here's something that probably because it's been discontinued more than anything else, has indeed people have been scrambling to try to get it whenever they have. The Camp Chef Ultimate Turkey Roaster, and it's by Camp Chef, and even though it's Asian made, it still has been, it's still a nice high quality cast iron pan. Camp Chef is a good brand, and I certainly recommend it as well for anybody who wants something like that. And of course, for several years, they were doing this huge double Dutch oven, this two-part turkey roaster, a top and a bottom, big enough to fit a turkey into. And then they finally discontinued it. And now that it's gone, of course, the ultimate turkey roaster is incredibly hard to find. And so on eBay, naturally, the ultimate turkey roaster is grabbing let's just say a real high price. A handful of years ago, I bought a, I'm sorry, I missed that one as well. S Rose 40. A handful of years ago, I bought a square lodge grill pan. I rarely use it anymore. What are your thoughts on the grill pans? Well, my personal opinion, you know what? I have to say I agree with you, but that's just my personal opinion. I've got all of these pans. I had a large grill pan and ended up getting rid of it because I never used it. The only real grill pan I have these days is the cover to my Sportsman deep fryer because the underside of it is also a grill pan. But I personally have not had very much use for a grill pan. However, that's me. That's just the way I like to cook. So I'm not going to say that grill pans are not very great. I can only say that I myself don't have that much of an interest in it. Do I have a BSNR chef skillet in my collection? No, I still do not. Wouldn't mind one. I missed the opportunity to get a chef skillet only about a year and a half ago. In fact, only like a couple of weeks after I moved here to New York. I went to a flea market in the local area and I saw a 10 chef, a BSNR chef skillet. And I didn't have any money on me. So I had to go and get some cash. And they don't have an ATM there. I had to drive down the road to the nearest Dollar General to get the cash and then drive back. Guess what happened? It was gone by the time I got back. So that's how it goes, unfortunately. So I still do not yet have a BSNR chef skillet. What is a chef skillet? A chef skillet is a pan, not necessarily cast iron, but they do have them with a special shape that with a especially with a rounded and curved bottom here, and they're meant especially for things like breakfast dishes, like omelets or crepes, that kind of thing. They're especially useful for that reason, and but yeah, it's called a chef skillet for that reason because it's shaped differently. It's much easier for a chef, for instance, to be able to pick up a chef skillet and do whatever he wants to do with it. So yeah, that's in fact what I'm holding right now is currently my chef skillet. And this in fact is the Lodge Blacklock skillet. This is the one from Lodge's Blacklock series that they introduced a few years ago. And I'm convinced that Lodge made these pans especially to compete with Field and Finex and Butter Pad and all the rest of those, because it's actually yeah, it is much higher priced than a typical Lodge skillet, yet much lower priced than the Field or the Butter Pat or any of those, or the Stargazer or any of those. And I really enjoy this for that reason. So yeah, that's yet, well again yet another example of a modern day skillet here. I love my Lodge chefs, says Cynthia Wesley. I like my BSR chefs too. My eggs will stick because it's not a Griswold. Well, that's not the reason why eggs will stick. I mean, I don't think that eggs will know, oh, this is not a Griswold, so therefore we're going to stick. I don't think it works quite that way. Yes. Cynthia Wesley, I feed bears every day. Oh, yeah, I'm like old Mother Hubbard. Okay. Which modern cast iron do you own that you favor the most? Probably Lodge. I mean, I still get a lot of use out of my modern day Lodge skillets, right alongside my vintage Red Mountain BSNR. As far as the, well, I will say one thing. If I'm gonna sear a steak, I think my go-to pan, in fact, would be the Finex. For the simple reason is this thing is very, very thick and heavy, really heavy, in fact, much heavier than a Lodge. And for that reason, I think this does a good job for doing things like searing steaks, for instance. So yeah, I mean, I would say that the Finex skillet is probably my go-to steak pan. That I would so I'm not sure if that means it's the one that I like the most. I mean, as I said, I'm still doing my best to try to rotate through the field and the no the Stargazer and the field, and I've had the Stargazer for a few years, so it's definitely has a jump on the field or the butter pat skillet for that matter. Louis J, you know the butter pat that somebody gave me as a gift. Yeah, so these two, it's going to take a few years before I can say that the butter pat and the field are seasoned as well as the Stargazer. But I'm working on it. I had the hardest time learning how to properly cook eggs in a cast iron skillet, but I can do it without much trouble. Yeah, what it really takes, oh yeah, is that Spider-Man hanging on the bottom shelf. Boy, you've got a good eye there. That much I can say. Because as a matter of fact, yes, it is. This, in fact, is a Spider-Man pancake skillet. And I only acquired him a couple of months ago, back in December. In fact, this is made by the same company that did the Star Wars cookies, pancake skillets. And last year, I discovered that they did not produce a new Star Wars pan. However, they did in fact produce a Spider-Man pan. And well, what can I say? Who doesn't love Spider-Man? So yeah, I had to. I admit I did have to acquire it, and now that he's here in my collection, I am indeed going to be getting some use out of him as well. So, who makes it? Uh, the the Star Wars pans and the Spider-Man pan. They're all from an Asian cast iron producer. They are not made in the USA. I forget the name of the company that actually imports them, but hey, look on the internet, look on Amazon or even on eBay, and you will see the package for those Star Wars cast iron pans and also the package for the Spider-Man pancake pan, and you will get the information you need on that. So that butter pad is now a collectible. What, already? Sad about the loss of a small business, but excited to see what Yeti can do. Oh, I see. Yes, you're talking about the fact that butter pad has been bought out by Yeti. Okay. If you're saying that butter pad has already discontinued some of the cast iron lines that it's produced, well, that's business. That's just it. They move in and they make changes, and so I guess if that means that the Eric is now a collector, is now discontinued. Well, very much. Thank you very much again for the gift, and thank you for letting me know. That does remind me. Speaking of both of which, discontinued cast iron and whether or not it might be a collector's item. I've got yet another piece, and I have shown this one before. You folks will know this one too. Ugh, the Solid Technics. Ugh, big skillet. The one that was made in Australia, and I'm holding it upside down, in fact. This huge thing that is, in fact, 30 centimeters across, not counting the handles. This heavy thing that I really love for making things like, say, ratatouille, for instance, not to mention pan pizza. And the fun thing about this is that Solid Technics is not producing cast iron anymore. As you know, they're producing a different kind of iron. I forget what they call it, forged iron or something like that. But anyway, okay. This was yet another Christmas present I received. If it seems like there's a pattern going on, yeah, I guess you could say there is. And I did not ask for this as a Christmas present, but I received it nonetheless. In 2015, in fact, this came in 2015. It was originally designed, in fact, to be the cover of a really huge Dutch oven. And I'm not even sure if they ever made the Dutch oven. But that was in 2015. In 2017, Solid Technics discontinued their cast iron production, which means yet again, and I can only say I was lucky. I really didn't plan it out this way. But yeah, here is another cast iron pan that has been discontinued, and so it is rather unique. I suppose if I were to sell it, I could probably sell it for a pretty penny, but I have no intention of selling it. So which again shows that I have very little information about the collector's market other than to speculate that maybe some of these pans might indeed become collector's items someday. I do realize that one of these days when I finally pass on, whoever handles my home and my possessions after I'm gone is probably going to sell a lot of my cast iron pans. I'm actually, in the back of my mind, I have to put my will together, complete with instructions of how to treat the cast iron collection. Okay, do you have a Lancaster? I do not. I was sent a Lancaster once as a gift, but I used it as a giveaway in a live video, in a live session. What was that? Maybe about 2, 3 years or so ago. And the reason why was for precisely that reason. I didn't have a use for another cast iron pan because what can I say? Yeah, I know. Yeah, boy, is that a weak excuse or what? I don't need any more cast iron pans. Oh, yeah? Well, then why did I just order the Cupid heart shaped, arrow through the heart pan from Lodge last week? Yeah, I fell for temptation. I admit it. I got the Valentine heart skillet from Lodge. It should be arriving just in time for Valentine's Day. So that was a poor excuse. And yet, I did indeed, as I said, I had past tense a Lancaster skillet, but I gave it away in a giveaway. Cynthia Wesley, I said no. I sell no gifts, wins, or special deceased people iron. Yeah. Well, yeah. We all have our own. Yeah. Make me your executor. I won't sell your cast iron. Love the Dutch oven red pan on the table. Yeah. This, in fact, again, it's modern day cast iron, but it is Asian made, in fact. However, these things, these heart-shaped Dutch ovens, they've gotten rather popular around this time of year over the last few years or so. I've actually had this one for a while. I looked it up and found I got this in 2017, so this is actually 6 years old. But yeah, and in fact, I got it from Bed Bath and Beyond, or as I like to say, Bed Bugs and Beyond. And it has the logo of the house brand for Bed Bath and Beyond, AKS, which I believe is Artisan Kitchen Supply or Selection or something like that. It's a 2-quart Dutch oven, and yeah, I still enjoy using it. And yeah, and again, these days, if you look, say, in like TJ Maxx or Marshalls, you'll probably find a whole rack of these kind of things in different colors too, even pink. So if you're in the market for getting one of these, it's really not that hard to get at this time of year. And of course, after Valentine's Day is over, they might even have them at a discount. All right. I love that Poiki, says Rocket Caver. Oh yeah, we've talked about the Poiki here, one of my favorite cauldrons as well. This is the South African Poiki, that with the number 3 size. And you could say again that this is a modern day piece, because not just because I acquired it in 2012, but and nonetheless, it is also by Best Duty, which is an Asian manufacturer. And of course, Best Poikis in South Africa, they are only available as Asian made items because there is no more cast iron producers in local to South Africa. So that's unfortunately how it goes. The last one went out of business. So hello, and that's and the Heart Dutch oven. Yeah, yeah. When I got this was on sale at Bed Bugs and Beyond. It was on sale for $20. So again, I couldn't say no to it, but at least I've gotten a use out of it for the last several years. And even though prices of everything have gone up, the heart-shaped Dutch oven is still really not expensive, relatively speaking. When you consider again, it's just that it's an enameled cast iron Dutch oven. So, Rick Stumbo, I'm gonna throw C Dubs under the bus. Everybody wish Cynthia a happy birthday this Sunday. Happy birthday, Cynthia! Yay! And hello, Eric D. Slider. Thank you very much, and hello, welcome here. Clico, Walmart carries a Drew Barrymore brand cast iron heart Dutch oven and a heart skillet. Was less than Le Creuset, of course. Yeah, I actually saw that just the other day. So, okay, well, you've got a celebrity endorsing her own line of cast iron pans. Okay, and well, my understanding is at least Drew Barrymore can cook. I do believe she actually does cook herself. So it's not just they paid her to put her name on it. So, but in which case, no, nothing wrong with that. I am not against celebrities, with their own products, as long as the products are decent. That, of course, is the primary thing, which is why I've got to laugh, unfortunately, at Gordon Ramsay and that silly Hexclad line. Then, where they obviously paid Gordon Ramsay to endorse that line of over expensive nonstick pans. I've talked about Hexclad at that point as well, so but I won't go into many more details for that. So, but who on YouTube? One of the YouTube cooking stars. That's it. Sam the Cooking Guy. Apparently, he's got his own cast iron pan now, complete with his Sam the Cooking Guy logo on it. It's Asian made and it's expensive. And I actually have not watched enough of his channel to know if we can really say that's a nice, decent cast iron pan, but I certainly hope it is. In fact, if anybody else wants to comment on that, please feel free to do so. My sister-in-law has a few Hexclad, but they haven't fared well at all. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Louis J. My condolences for that. Corey Clark, I have an Emerald Dutch oven. Yeah, Emerald's line has been going around for a long time, yes. And they're durable enough. Again, they're Asian made. They have a rough surface, unless he also has enamel cast iron. And I suppose he probably does, because enamel cast iron is very popular. And to which I say, if you've got it, use it. I don't have a problem with that. Why would I have a problem with that? I'm just a guy on YouTube. I'm not some kind of authority. I'm not going to tell you, don't use that pan because it's not made in America. No, I'm not. I'm not in that crowd. No offense. I love made in America cast iron. The vast majority of my collection is indeed made in the USA. I do have several Asian made pieces that I get a lot of use out of, including the heart-shaped Dutch oven for one. So, okay, imagine 100 years in the future, Gary Dodson. People will be going to the thrift stores and flea markets searching for Hexclad pans. Yeah, exactly. Somehow I don't think that's going to happen. Or if it does, there is the possibility that those things may survive 100 years, and they will probably show up at thrift sales and flea markets for pennies, because of course the non-stick part will have long since worn away, and so it's just going to be like a nice looking frying pan. So but again, that's going to be 100 years from now. I'm not going to be here 100 years from now, so I'm not worried about that. Louis J again. I had a Sam cast iron for review, but let's just say I would not recommend it over any Lodge cast iron. Oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna actually have to check your channel and see for more information about that. Yeah, the big one is a stove. Yes, it is. Also modern day. But yeah, this is one that I got especially to replace the Le Creuset Dutch oven because it finally wore out, or the enamel started chipping, unfortunately. But yes, this is a big, really big stove enamel Dutch oven, European made. And this is definitely my go-to pasta sauce pot more than anything else, I think. Because when I want to make a huge pot of pasta sauce, well, naturally, you have to use an enamel cast iron pan. And so as a result, I'm glad to be able to use this. So definitely. Pal Pal, I love my Teflon cookware. Okay, yeah. I'll believe that one when I see a Pal Pal. Electrobuzz, no Teflon in this house. Yes. By the way, did you know that that Birmingham Stove and Range, the all-American BS&R, they produced they actually produced very briefly a series of Teflon coated cast iron pan. Yes, BS&R, Teflon coated. I'm not kidding. This was only really discovered within the last few years or so, because that series of non-stick cast iron pans did not do very well. It did not sell very well, and the Teflon coating barely lasted any time at all. It just kept flaking off, and people would often scrub off the cast iron pan. So the Teflon from the cast iron pan. So yeah, so as a result, they discontinued that series. So it is not really any kind of Yeah, that was only a very brief uh, period of time that they produced them. And however, they are cast iron pans, and you could still find those pans out there on the market, almost always with the original Teflon long gone. What are those pans? They're the ones that for several years we thought they were unknown. The Mercedes pans, the peace symbol pans. That's the one, the BSNR skillet. And I don't have one. If I find one at a cheap price, I might actually pick it up. But the one, it's a BSNR skillet that, in addition to the heat ring, it also has just that. They call it the Mercedes pan because it has those three lines that look like the logo. And for years, we didn't know why they produced them, but it turned out they made them especially for their Teflon nonstick series. So that mystery is resolved. And at this point, all we have left are the cast iron pans, which I think is an interesting bit of trivia. But you know what? I would not say that that's going to make those BSR pans collector's item. Would you? Okay, what's the best way to remove stuck on olive oil residue in my enamel Dutch oven? Stuck on olive oil residue. I might suggest, well, first of all, try enamel cleaner and maybe even Barkeeper's Friend. They do sell a liquid Barkeeper's Friend, not the granulated stuff, so that it's not, so that it won't, scratch the enamel. You might want to give that a try. Um, if necessary, then I might also think oven cleaner, easy off. You might even want to start with the blue can easy off. I believe, I'm not 100% sure, maybe somebody else can correct me on this, but I believe lye would not hurt an enameled cast iron pan. But somebody please correct me on that. I've never done that myself. I've never put an enameled cast iron pan in my lye tank. Maybe I should, just to see what happens. But Barkeeper's Friend is non-abrasive. Okay, just boil some water in it. Yeah, exactly. Barkeeper's Friend baking soda. Yeah, I'm still waiting for my mailbox. How many quarts is the stove? The stove is actually about 13 quarts. It's a nice big pot, and I especially got it for that reason, just because I wanted it. No, because I needed, not wanted, needed a huge enamel cast iron pot, because again, as I said, this is my Italian pasta sauce cooker, and that's why for me it was essential. Would boiling a half vinegar, half water mixture help with that oil? Well, I would say try it and see. Stove has it in their Instagram stories to use baking soda. Okay, so well, there are some tips anyway. I certainly hope that helps as well. Ideas on how to get olive oil residue off of your enameled uh, Dutch ovens or pans. That's the one of the other reasons why I especially chose stove, and I'm very happy with that. The fact that the stove pan, and I think they're almost the only one that does this. They don't have a white interior. This is in fact enameled inside and out, but it's got a black interior. So that means it's less likely to stain. So yeah, I would definitely say that's something of a game changer, and I'm very glad for that. So that it's much easier to keep the stove clean than a typical enamel cast iron pan, which, as you know, has its white white interior. Somehow I've managed to keep this thing white here for like the past 6 or 7 years. Not 6 years, that's right. But the main reason why is I have not done anything to stain this, like cooking pasta sauce in this thing regularly. So, okay. Still going along here. Some prefer the Le Creuset over stove, as they can see fond in the pan, and I have stove. Yeah. My whole head was in the fridge. Okay. I bought those racks at Lowe's and Home Depot. Oh, good. Fuzzfork8 has a question. Let me go back again this way. Fuzzfork, where did you find the racks you store your cast iron on? Okay, yeah. These particular racks here, let me get down there. Oh, yeah, there we are. These particular racks here I got on Amazon. I looked for the best deal I could find on Amazon, and it's already been about 5 years now for these. Yeah, these racks are about 5 years old. But 5 years ago, I managed to find these on an. You know how Amazon does sometimes have its own clearance. You know where they have brand new items at a lower cost. I managed to score these racks. These two racks were originally one rack, one big 6 shelf rack, and I managed to score that then for about 75 bucks. And I consider that a bargain, quite frankly, because they have worked great over the past 5 years. Now I do find that wire racks of this kind are unfortunately somewhat more expensive than 75 bucks. But you never know. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that maybe you might even come across at a flea market. So you might still be able to get lucky and end up with a rack of this kind. So I prefer the white interior. Okay, I had this Dutch oven, enamel Dutch oven for 50 years. No problem getting them clean. Well, oh, no, you definitely know your stuff then. What was the weight capacity statement on the racks? Oh, I like that. Believe it or not, the weight capacity statement said 300 pounds per shelf. And that was really what sold me on this. Yeah, no, and of course I'd have to remember it because I don't have the original packaging now, but it did say that. It said about 300 pounds per shelf. So that's why I know that the rack at least is safe enough to hold the cast iron. What people often ask me, though, is, "Why isn't this going to cause my floor to collapse?" Well, that's one reason why when I moved into this new place, I spread it out, especially for that reason, to kind of like redistribute the weight in the hope that it should help that way. So load until visibly bending. Yeah, that's one way to do it. Consumer version of metro shelving, pretty much. Yes, exactly, Rocket Caber. They're rated for 300 pounds per shelf. Le Creuset versus Stobe, like Ford versus Chevy. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Um, I had a Le Creuset. It was not in brand new condition when I first got it. I really beat the stuffing out of it, and eventually the enamel just chipped. So that's why I had to replace it, and I replaced it with the stove. Rocket Caber. I have 4 of those racks full of iron. Excuse me. Yeah, that's my rule for eating pizza. Okay. I better see if I missed anyone. I've been answering Louis J's questions, and thank you very much. Clico, I prefer the white interior. The Bears done did it again. Some prefer, okay, my whole head. I'm looking to see if I missed anything else. Would boiling, no, we said that part. Olive oil residue. I've heard about that. Wonder if anyone has an NOS cast. Oh yeah, the cast iron, the Teflon BSNR. I've only seen pictures of the Teflon BSNR on the collectors groups, especially the BSNR collectors group on Facebook, which I consider to be about the best authority on the internet for information about BSNR. Please talk about Victoria cast iron from Colombia. I I have one piece of Victoria cast iron. Excuse me, sorry about that. And that is a cast iron tortilla maker. But that's the only piece I have, unfortunately, from Victoria. I have not yet had the opportunity to acquire one of those. So I do understand that Victoria, though, actually is doing pretty good business as well. And furthermore, I would also say that likely you could probably compare Victoria cast iron to modern day lodge in terms of quality. So, uh, I really won't say anything bad about Victoria cast iron, largely because I haven't seen it myself, and so I'm not going to say anything bad until I actually see that. Beeswax, Victoria's similar quality to Lodge, Victoria's super. Any info on Birdsboro? Very little. They're yet another They're another cast iron manufacturer, and um, my understanding is they are based in Texas, and that's about all I know about them. I'm sorry to say. Birdsboro Casting Company out of okay, then I'm wrong. Out of Pennsylvania. You folks have a lot better knowledge about this than I do. That's for sure. Because you've just proven me wrong, and I will fully state that. All right. There will be a pack. Oh no! Please don't tell me you did this again, Louis J. There will be a package arriving at my home on Monday. Well, okay. I will take a look at it. Yes, Louis J. Once again, thank you very much. You know, I told you not to send me any more cast iron, please. And I was really sincere about that. I mean, I'll accept it as a gift, yes, but I am honestly saying that I am not asking people to send me cast iron. I guess I'll have to deal with that when it comes, but thank you very much. Okay, the Beaumont resident. I saw another channel that praises beeswax for seasoning. I've never tried. Oh yeah, I used beeswax for several years myself. Both, the guys who have started their own cast iron season company, like Crisby and Buzzy Wax, and what's he called? Oh yeah, Easy Beezy. You know, all of those. They're all using a combination of beeswax and usually like Crisco or shortening or the like in theirs. And I think it does a great job. A couple of times, I even used real chunks of straight genuine beeswax as well for seasoning my cast iron. And I think that the combination of the two does a really good job. I've seasoned some of my cast iron with straight on beeswax, and I think it did an okay job. But I, as I said, I am very much a fan of those seasonings, whether it's like I said, Buzzy Wax or Crisby or Easy Beezy. So I would give a thumbs up to any one of those three. So yes, in fact, I did in fact make my own imitation Crisby cast iron seasoning, and I ended up using about 2/3 beeswax and 1/3 shortening, like Crisco. In fact, I used Crisco and melted it all together and produced several um, sticks of my own cast iron seasoning, which are gone. Unfortunately, I've used them all. Some of them I got rid of when I moved as well because I had to get rid of as much stuff as possible. It's definitely you don't have, and I'm excited to say. Oh, great! Well, thank you again, Louis J. Something I don't have, and okay, I'll have to take another look at it. Okay, well, thank you very much for that, Louis J. Most of the tins of seasoning paste have beeswax. How do people get your address? Well, in some instances, I admit I did give my address away, largely because, um, well, one, Louis J in particular, the first time he did it, he said he wanted to send me something. He didn't say what it was. And since then, unfortunately, yes, I have received several donations from Louis J, every one of which I'm not asking for. And I'm not being sarcastic and it's not like, oh no, please don't send me something when in fact I really want you to send me something. No, I have been completely honest about this. So I'm so on one hand, I honestly wish you didn't, Louis J, but of course I will take a look and accept it as a gift. So thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to see Corey. That's interesting sounding. Yeah, I like to season by frying bacon, but I love bacon. And yeah, exactly. It's a nice gesture. Yes, exactly. And I will certainly acknowledge that. That's why, okay. But I'm trying not to encourage it. If you want to give away cast iron, there are many other people, even here on this channel, for instance, who would really, really appreciate a cast iron present because they don't have a collection like this. So, okay, and that's all I'm going to say about that. That particular subject is closed for tonight. Okay, I posted a video. Tis the seasoning for cast iron, as my buddy sent me wagyu beef and avocado oil. Well, congratulations for that. I have never had the opportunity to have wagyu yet, unfortunately, because that stuff is freaking expensive. I mean, if the opportunity ever comes up, I'm looking forward to it. But until then, I'm just going to be sticking with my usual ground beef and chuck and pork and pork loin and pork chops and all the rest of that. So you know, that is actually something I find amusing, and kind of turns me off too. Where these bigger foodie channels, they just toss around ridiculously expensive ingredients just like it was nothing. Hey, yeah, you know what? Let's do something just for the heck of it. Let's take this wagyu beef and mix it in with this genuine parmesan that comes from a parmesan wheel that costs about $1,200. And let's scrape off a few vanilla beans and mix it in. Vanilla beans that cost $5 each. And while we're at it, let's sprinkle some saffron onto it too. Hello, Mobley. Hey, what are you doing down here, Mobley? Huh? Yeah, you. Anyway, yeah, that kind of thing. It's like they throw away these ridiculously expensive ingredients just because they can. And yes, I understand it's their channel, their budget, their revenue. They can do what they want. If they want to play around with wagyu and let's take this big hunk of wagyu and grind it down and make sausages out of it just to see what it's like, you can do that. Um, I'm not, I can't afford that. And even if I could, I like to think I'm not the type of person who would do that. Hello, Mobley. Hey, you never do this, Mobley. You never come here for attention like this. So I'm really surprised. Okay. Yeah, see, here she is. She's right down here. Hi, Mobley. Hello. Hello, little girl. Okay. What's the small pan next to the red heart? Oh yeah, this one is interesting. I acquired this for like about $3 or $4, and I really haven't had anything. I really haven't done anything with it yet. But the interesting thing about this is two reasons. One is it is another USA made cast iron pan, and it is from a company called Nest Homeware. And they are one of those companies that is not mass producing these. They are making these pretty much where, as they say, every pan they make is a piece of artwork. And you can see it's got this really nice pan, nice handle that it is cast iron, and it's all one piece. So even though it looks like this is a piece of wood here in the end. But as I said, I found this at a flea market for about $3 or $4. I forget which. But I like the shape of. I liked how it looked. And then I went to the Nest Homeware website and found out this tiny little number 3 size cast iron pan costs $75. Yeah, this little thing costs $75. So since then, I've been sitting on this because I don't know what to do with it. I mean, I've got a lot of number 3s. Actually, this is not even a number 3 size pan. This is much smaller than a number 3 size pan. Here's a number 3 size pan. This is a Griswold number 3. And here is the Nest Homeware. I mean, look at this. This thing here can't be more than, what would you say? Maybe, let me show it this way. This thing here can't be more than what? 4 inches across, I guess? Yeah. So, and yet this Nest Homeware thing costs $75. Okay, that's another thing that I've said before in regards to modern day cast iron. Namely having the incredibly expensive prices that they're selling these things for. They make their own cast iron. They could set whatever prices they want for it. If Yeti wants to sell the Yeti cast iron skillets at $400 a piece, more power to them. I mean, if they've actually got an audience who's going to pay $400 for a cast iron pan, okay, more power to them. I mean, if you don't want a $400 cast iron pan, don't buy a $400 cast iron pan. That's pretty much all there is to it. So and the best of luck to Yeti for that. Likewise with this Nest homeware thing. It's just that I find the $75 price astounding. So I'm sure they probably have ways to justify it, but oh, I don't think I even can say anything else about this. Okay, Waffle House uses a similar pan for scrambled eggs, the small one, I know. I got a stainless bacon grease keeper off of Amazon. Nice. It has a fine strainer to get out the bits. Am I right? Am I right? Do I still need? Yeah, I think I still need to find myself a grease pan. Okay. Or a grease can, I mean. Victoria is awesome stuff. Personally like the design, even if they're base stuff better than Lodge. Okay. And hello, Cindy and Papa. Hello, Papa and Mrs. Cindy. Nice to see you here, and glad you made it tonight. Our live session is not over yet, although we are I'm probably going to call it a night. What would you say? Like maybe in about 15 minutes or so. That's our usual time. But even so, I mean, again, we've really even though we've talked about the subject before, it's like we've still barely scratched the surface in regards to modern day cast iron because there's so much to talk about. The different brands, what the real differences are between, say, a Stargazer and a Field and a Butter Pad and a Smithy, things like that. Because of course they do have to come up with reasons to justify the high price, but there are reasons why they sell those pans at incredibly high prices. All of them. It's because they have to. I mean, it's true that in the days of, like, say, Lodge and Griswold and all that, they mass produced their pans and sold them cheap, cheap, cheap. The simple fact is that those days are long gone. They're part of history. These days, it costs a lot of money to build a brand new cast iron foundry. Here in the 21st century, where things are incredibly expensive, it would likely cost, what would you say? Oh, yeah, they did the Kickstarter, in fact, to start up their business. And the Kickstarter, they had to raise something like about $300,000 just to get their foundry up and running. So, and of course they had to sell stock in the company as well to also raise revenue. So the thing is, they've got a lot of shareholders that they have to generate revenue for. They have to make a profit as fast as they can, and that's just unfortunately how the modern day business model works. And it's for that reason that those companies have to, and I mean have to, cater to the expensive luxury cookware market. I mean, I know things like Field. It's like, for instance, the Field tried to set the price of their skillets as low as possible. And so if I remember right, when Field first came out, what were their number eight skillets selling for? Like maybe $80, maybe 90 or $100 at first. Since then, they've had to raise the price, and so now it's field skillet cost you what, 120, $150, and I'm not faulting them on that because they're not like, I mean, we've been hearing on the news about a number of companies raising the cost of basic items, and really for no reason, out of greed. They're calling it greedflation. I would like to think that companies like Field and Stargazer and the like are more honest than that, and they've had to raise their prices because they really didn't have any choice. So that's why I am not going to fault any of those companies. Let me put this thing back, by the way. Where? Oh yeah. I am not going to fault any of those companies for selling their pans at the prices that they're selling at. Hello, Mobley. Hello again. Yeah, and for that matter, that brings me to another one. And I've talked about this one recently. The New York skillet, the one from American Skillet Company. You folks probably remember this largely because it's unforgettable. I especially got this New York pan when American Skillet Company went out of business last year because I felt like it was one of those things that I just felt I should get, because obviously it was going to be gone, and I thought that was my only opportunity to get a pan like this. And guess what? They've got a new owner now, and they're back in business, and they're producing more of these USA state cast iron skillets. Great, congratulations. That's nice. So yeah, I am not saying, ah, now that they're back, this isn't going to be a collector's item. No, I'm not saying that. Rather, as I said, I'm glad. However, I'm also glad to own this New York cast iron skillet. Um, thing is that they have always been selling these things at, guess what, ridiculous prices. Yeah, high prices, anywhere from like $150, $200 or more. So, and I can be sure that the new company is probably not going to drop the price. So that's the way they do their business model, and so they could set whatever prices they want. And well, as I said, if you don't want to pay it, you don't have to. And that's really about all I can say about that, especially since, remember, there are two companies that have produced cheap cast iron pans in the shape of the state of Texas. Those two Texas cast iron pans are being sold at HEB, Heb or HEB. I've never seen one of those stores. They're all in the southern US, but the HEB stores have a Texas cast iron skillet. And so does Kohl's, the clothing store, Kohls. Yeah, that's right, Kohl's. Or at least they did the last time I looked, and admittedly, that was almost a year ago. They had a Texas cast iron skillet on their website, and it was only selling for about $20. If you want something like that, you could look on their website. Maybe it's still available. I honestly don't know yet. Just check prices for American Skillet Company. Prices are 130 USD. I feel that's reasonable for the niche market they're catering to. Sounds like they've actually lowered the price then. In which case, congratulations to anybody who gets one. It's still something that you're not exactly just gonna pick up just for the heck of it, you know. But if you have a reason to get one of them for whatever reason, you know, Christmas present, birthday present, maybe you've got your some other reason for getting one of these things. Well, then, if you feel that it's worth it, go ahead and get it. That, I think, is really about the best thing that I can say. Look at the ones that are marked, then go back to yours. Handles on those are the same. Made in USA for unmarked Wagner, just like the pans. Oh, I see. Somebody's talking about Wagner. Wagner, I guess. Wait. Somebody mentioned Brian Lagerstrom as well. He's he's a channel that I follow regularly. Brian Lagerstrom's 30-minute chili recipe is seriously good. Oh, really? Okay. Well, then I think we're probably going to have to clue this one in at some time soon. I'm not. We're not quite at the end of this, although we're getting close. However, I remember a couple of weeks ago, I promised you folks we would do butter chicken. Indian butter chicken. I'm going to try to commit to doing that next Wednesday, and then maybe the one after that. How about we look at Brian Lagerstrom's 30-minute chili and see how it turns out. Okay, well, good. I'm glad to have an agenda for these things, so at least I'll know what to look forward to next for the next couple of weeks. Okay, I'm trying to get on the lives now. They're caught up in the past one. Oh, okay. Those HEB Texas, yes, are $20. But again, I see them in an antique sale store for $30. Well, of course they're going to do that. I mean, that's unfortunately how antique sellers do business. And I'm not going to criticize the antique sellers either because they're trying to make a profit. So, especially since cast iron has gotten so ridiculously expensive and valuable in the antique market. I mean, antique vendors seem to think anything made of cast iron is gold, and that seems to have been the case almost from day one. So, well, no correction. I'm not going to say that all antique vendors are innocent. There are indeed some of them who will intentionally jack up the price, and I would not frequent those. But you've got to, I guess, use some common sense and use your knowledge to get the idea of what you feel might be fair versus what might be a ripoff. I mean, for instance, $35 for the HEB skillet. Oh, Mobley, you look so cute. $35 for the HEB skillet, for instance. As I said, there is no HEB here in the northern US. So for somebody who came across one of those Texas skillets up here in the northern US for $35, maybe you might consider it worth it. Okay. Vintage stores are ridiculous. They'll try to sell a rusty, warped piece of iron as if it were pristine. Yeah. I have found a few bargains at antique malls, but they are few and far between. I've found them though, and that's the reason why we keep going through them. It's the thrill of the hunt, because even there, you might still find something once in a while. I mean, heck, a great number of excuse me, sorry about that. A great number of the scores I made for my collection I found at the Brimfield Antique Show. Even though if you go to Brimfield, most of the cast iron there is, again, being sold at ridiculously high prices. What you really have to do is and have patience and have patience. Really, as far as the hunt goes, here's what I've learned. You've got to enjoy the hunt. If you're only happy when you score, then you're not going to be very happy much of the time in this. I enjoy just going to antique places and flea markets and the like and browsing. And if I don't get anything, that's fine because I enjoy the browsing. Because and especially the other nice thing is that it helps me to keep my collection down, so to speak, because it's not like I just keep getting more and more and more. I'm trying not to. Really, I am. I'm trying not to. Okay, I feel like you can find vintage cast iron at better prices out east. It's a bit more rare out here in the west. Um, you might be right, I guess, considering that most of the cast iron vendors were in fact located more in the east, in the north and south. But I really can't think of any major vendors from the on the west coast. On the other hand, you certainly do have a lot of access to Asian cast iron. Okay, does anyone have any suggestions on where to find vintage cast iron in San Diego? Being here in New York, I cannot answer that question, but I do hope that somebody does for Mr. Majors. Here in Birmingham, VLXXX, here in Birmingham, they're pretty common in thrift stores just because of the manufacturing situation. Eddie Lyles, do you think my corn pen, no, do you think my corn pen is a Wagner? It has 7 slots and they're in opposite directions. It is unmarked. Wagner did do unmarked. What you really should do though is identify the handle. All of the corn stick pans had their own unique handles. Lodge, I think, had 2 handles, but it's possible to identify a Wagner just from the way the handle, what I'm saying, the handle is shaped. So look up on eBay or on the internet a picture of a Wagner corn stick pan and then compare it to yours and see what you got. That's probably the easiest way to identify it, I think. Hey, Mobley. Okay. Anyway, happy belated birthday, Debbie Dev, and Dutch pancakes, maybe. Okay, yeah, and again, happy birthday, Corey Clark. Happy birthday, Debbie. All right. So we've been going on about this, and as I said, once again, I do feel like we've barely scratched the surface. We'll probably have to bring this up at another time as well, not necessarily even just on Wednesday as well. But yeah, I'm as young as I feel, but the age is shocking. Well, yeah, that's why, as they say, you're only as young as the person you feel. So make sure you're feeling your husband. But on the other hand, really, you know what your real age is? It's your age plus your kid's age. That's why you feel so old. I think we can all agree with that. So, okay, what do you know about BSNR dry fry griddles? I had a dry fry griddle once, and then I ended up selling it because I didn't use it. They were another one of those things that BSNR made with the Century series. When BSNR went into automated production in the 1960s, it vastly increased their capacity for output to the point where they did a lot of experimenting to produce things that they had not made before to see what would sell. The dry fry griddle was one of them. So I would have to say that a dry fry griddle would likely be post 1966. And that's my best estimate for it, I'm afraid. I'm also not sure how long they continued it because I don't think they were producing the dry fry griddle even in the 1980s or so. It is a Wagner. Well, congratulations, Eddie Lyles. Oh, $10? Oh, nice. Okay. All right, but anyway, as I said, I'm thinking that we've been going on here, and as I said, I've been we've been just jumping from question or topic to topic in regards to cast iron and modern day cast iron, which is fine because that's exactly what we're here for. I think that Wagner is the only maker that has the opposite direction molds. Um, I believe Lodge does. I think Lodge also does that. BSNR, if I remember right, did not. All of BSRs were the same direction. Okay, well, thank you once again, Debbie. Yeah, I know. I put a lot of effort into my collection. I won't deny that, and it's something I'm very proud of. I won't deny that. I really, really am proud of this. Even though it's freaked out the neighbors. I mean, I had to explain to my neighbors when they saw my collection, why the heck do you have all those cast iron pans? And I said, well, you know how you collect Pokemon and Digimon and whatever Mon and Yu-Gi-Oh? I don't know my cards, but yeah, I mean, if you got that kind of a collection, this is my collection, and that's the best excuse I can give. So, but yes, and thank you as well to Chris McGee. Your fast knocks next week, and I hope your cornbread pan is clean. They can be a pain to strip and clean. Yes, they can. I certainly don't deny that. But as I said, I think we're about ready. I think really to call this an evening because well, once again, it is a Wednesday. It's a work night, and we do have to get ready for work tomorrow, but at least we get to start preparing for the weekend. I've been slacking off the last few days, and I actually have to catch up on a lot of cooking. For starters, I've got this rack of ribs in the fridge that I have to cook real soon, so I'm probably going to have to do that tomorrow, in fact. And then after that, I've got a plan as well of doing a British Guinness and beef pie, and I've got some fudge to make over the weekend. And on top of all that, one of my friends has asked me for a red velvet cake for Thanksgiving, for Valentine's Day. So hopefully, this means there's going to be a lot of cooking in the next few days. And most importantly, in all, it's going to be fun. That's probably the best thing, and that's why I can only say again, Rock Hunter. My niece was surprised I had a cast iron list on my phone for shopping purposes. Yeah. Well, hey, it's your phone. You can put whatever you want on it. But yeah, that I mean, as I said, for all of us, remember, Valentine's Day is next week, and there's our excuse to do some cooking over the weekend because we can prepare all of those really special dishes for the ones we love or hate and or for ourselves. If you're one of those people who says I'm gonna spend Valentine's Day alone, well then cook for yourself. I'm sorry, I'm not a counselor. I'm not going to go. Yeah, I'm not going to go into any kind of drama over that. And some folks are lucky; they get to spend Valentine's Day with the ones they love. Others will not. Regardless, do some cooking. First of all, it's fun, it's romantic, and it's also therapeutic. So that's the best advice I'd like to give to you. Over the next week, break out your cast iron and make something special, whether it's going to be a cake or a steak or some other special dish that you really want to make. Let's do it this weekend, okay? And having said that, I think we're about ready now to move on here. So yeah, thank you very much to Mr. Majors, and thank you everybody once again. Yeah, yeah, great excuse to cook something special. Exactly, Louis J. And thank you as well to for everybody for being here, for Terry Sinchef and Pat Z, Rick Stumbo and Papa Dan and Kimberly Miller, Cynthia Wesley, and all of you folks. Many of your names I'm very familiar with, some I'm not familiar with. And thank you to everybody who's been kind enough to show up. Because as I say every week, it's you folks who make these live videos here so much fun. I've been droning on and on and on for almost an hour and a half here, and the time flies, especially because you folks are here and sharing it with me, and I very much appreciate that. Thank you very much for coming into my home and seeing my collection, and especially if you enjoy it, because really I do this really to entertain you folks. It's a lot of and most of all because it's a lot of fun. So once again, let's get ready to finish off the week and get ready for Valentine's Day next week, and then we've got still more coming up because you know what? We're getting close to a month from St. Patrick's Day, and it's corned beef and cabbage time. So yeah, we definitely have got some cooking in our future. So thank you once. Oh yeah, and how can I forget the Super Bowl this weekend? So yeah, we've got party cooking to do. So yeah, we definitely have preparations to do for this weekend. I mean, if you're not going to cook something nice for Valentine's Day, you've got the Super Bowl. So one way or another, we're definitely all going to have some fun cooking. So thank you, and thank you once again for everybody who's been kind enough to show up here. And what can we say? We'll all wrap this up. And next week, I'm going to try to commit to doing butter chicken. And we'll see how that turns out. And having said that, I do believe we are ready to call this one a night. And I can only thank you once again. And so, see you all next Wednesday.